to switch over to my other camera then here.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. Let's see. Can you see the whole picture there?
Yes.
Okay. The whole painting, you can see the whole piece there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, yeah, because I can't, so I have to figure out what I need to do here to get it full size here. I don't know where that is right now, but anyway, since you guys can see, I'll just go ahead and start. Okay, this is the sketch that I'm using for the design. Can you see the full sketch?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, because I'm just
Yes.
seeing of it here. So um, the photograph I sent isn't a great photograph, but it's a dramatic photograph. The foreground didn't really matter to me. It's all kind of black in the photo. But what I'm going to do is introduce some shapes in the foreground, some mesa shapes that I see out my window in the daytime. And the cloud, there's a lot more variation in that cloud than shows in the photographs. So most of the painting is going to be wet and to wet about the sky. So, it's like skies want what they want. So sometimes they don't end up being exactly what I intended. So I try not to force my opinion too much onto the watercolor at first because it's going to be difficult to harness the wet and to wet cloud formations and colors and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with a wet and to wet painting. But before I start, I want to talk about the colors that I use. And I mainly use the Daniel Smith colors. And I have a Nicolaizo yellow, Hansa yellow, Quinn red, and I use a Quinn magenta there. It's a little bit of a weak, cool red. And then the cobalt blue, which I use quite a bit of, the French ultramarine, cerulean blue, and the phthalo blue. And I'll be using quite a bit of that for the cloud formations tonight. So those are some of my colors on that palette.
So
And
Dale, you have all those blues spread over two wells.
yeah,
Okay.
since I use double brushes like this,
Yeah.
big brushes, I have double containers on some of these
Right.
so that the brushes will fit in there. So on this palette, I have most of my earth tones. I have my neutral tint, which is a Holbein neutral tint. It's basically a gray. And then I have Quin burnt orange, Quin sienna, Quin gold, and yellow ochre, which I use quite a bit of, especially at the beginning stages of my painting to warm it up. So those are my basic colors, and I'll try to keep track of the colors as I go along, let you know what I'm using. Now, this brush I use quite a bit, especially at the beginning stages, this 3-inch Robert Simmons Skyflow. And I think it's no longer available because I can't find them anywhere. And I don't know, they're pretty expensive the last one I bought. So they're a pretty expensive brush. And I don't know what you would do to replace that 2-inch brush these days. But this works really well for me. And I'll be using also an 1.5 inch, uh, and this is a Winsor Newton 965 series. Again, it's a flat brush. I like this one because it has a lot of bristles in it. It's thick. This part is really thick, so it holds a lot of water. And that was the same for this one too. It doesn't bend and stay bent. Some brushes, the wide brushes, they won't flip back into position. They stay bent. So I like these because they don't do that. And this is one of my very favorite brushes, and this is a Lang nickel. It's an 1.5 inch, I think, and it's uh, ox hair, I think, is what this is, and it's really a thick, thick brush if you look at how thick it is. And it really creates nice smooth washes. So those are some of my bigger brushes. And then I have like a number 8 or number 10 round synthetic and number 4 uh, uh, a flat brush or a round brush too. So those are my main brushes. Sometimes I'll use a 2-inch 965, and I can have that available if I need it. But for the most part, those are the brushes that I think I'll be using tonight. I can't see any others that would be of interest to us tonight. But the main thing I'm going to do is start with I tilt it up just slightly, just about this much above the surface of my paper. I don't want it really tilted too much. And I'll just set my sketchbook aside there, or sketch paper aside there. And I'm going to pre-wet or pre-wet the entire surface. I use 300-pound rough. That's usually the go-to paper that I use. I also paint on aquaboard as well, but mostly I paint when I'm painting watercolor. I paint on 300-pound rough. So we'll get this nice and wet here. And the reason I'm doing a sky painting is, you just can't avoid the skies here in New Mexico. Every morning and every night, there's a sweep of clouds. There's brilliant stuff going on in the sky. So that's why I am now more interested in skies. Usually, my paintings have been about the landscape, the actual landscape, more than the sky. And I still do that mostly, but I'm really getting interested in the skies of New Mexico. And if you come out here and go through the galleries and go through the different places where there are art shows, you'll see a lot of sky painters out here. And I can see why, because all get seduced by these massive clouds and monsoon storms that come through. So, so that's my reasoning for doing this tonight. And we just had a really nice rainstorm yesterday for about 20. The storms last for about maybe 20 minutes in the summertime, but they come through in the afternoons and drop a few drops of rain here and there. So it's pretty nice place to be for skies and landscape is New Mexico. So
Somebody's asking what brand of paper you use.
the arches, 300-pound rough arches.
Anybody, if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and we will funnel them to Dale.
So I'm continuing to add a little water so it'll stay wet. We're pretty dry here in New Mexico, so I make sure that I get it nice and wet because I'll be working for quite a while on this sky. So, but I spend a little time doing that. I do several layers of water on there so that it's pretty saturated. The 300-pound rough is a real thick paper, so it takes a lot of moisture in, and it'll hold it for a while. So my main MO is to start with my yellow ochre, and I like to use that to kind of warm up the subject, warm up the landscape. So I use that quite a bit. I'm going to be using some of these spray bottles too for the sky to create rain effects and cloud effects. So I have different spray bottles that I'll be using. So
Dale, do you paint plein air in Arizona? I mean, in New Mexico, and do you do small painting?
Arizona,
No.
no, New Mexico. Yeah. Um, I haven't actually painted yet in New Mexico outdoors, but I've got some ideas for places that I would like to paint. I mean, right here in Placitas, we have this gigantic Sandia Mountain right here behind us. that would be a beautiful place to paint. There's the Jemez Mountains nearby. There's going north towards Santa Fe, the Rio Grande River. So there's all kinds of places to paint around here. It's almost too many to decide which ones to
A
do.
lifetime, right?
Yeah. So, uh, but California, I love California and I still do, but I'm also love uh, New Mexico. The one thing I might say that something you never knew about me is actually when I was a kid, I lived in the southwest of Colorado, not far from where I live now. So
Hmm.
I'm very familiar with this kind of a landscape. Um, so it's not new to me, put it that way. And another new thing that didn't know about me, now that I'm thinking about it, you surprised me with that. So now I
I
have to
got you
think.
going. Yeah.
Um, I went to 28 different schools when I was a kid. So most of them in Colorado and some in California, in Wyoming and Utah, different places. So it's interesting living a peripatetic lifestyle like that. So what I'm using now is cobalt blue into the yellow ochre. So I have to overpower the yellow ochre with with the cobalt blue, or otherwise we end up with a gray greenish tint to this, and which I don't really mind at this stage anyway. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of the Quin magenta in here and get some of that warm color that we find in the photograph right along the horizon line here. And use a touch of Hansa yellow with it here, give us a little golden glow that we're all so familiar with here. I think I might switch to Quin red here, get that going. Quin red and Hansa yellow here, and get. So once we get the basics going here, then we're in good shape. Swirl the brush a little bit to get some drifting shapes going through here. So you can see I'm just ignoring the foreground area, the landscape part of this. It's just really not important to me at this stage. So then we work back into the cobalt blue here. So we got kind of the basics for our sky shapes there. Now I'm going to switch to a darker blue here. I'm going to go with the French ultramarine. And I'm going to mix it with some phthalo blue green shade and sweep in the dark clouds that come up above the sunset. So I use these vertical brush strokes to start developing some of those rain sheets of rain coming down. It's going to be in the upper portion of the painting there. So I'm really starting to get the feeling of the raindrops coming down. And in order to get that really dark impending storm coming, I'm just going to keep introducing more and more. I think the phthalocyanine blue shade, green shade, blue. I get that always mixed up. I'm going to just say blue green from now on here. It's getting past my bedtime already. So another thing I want to do now is actually add a little bit of neutral tint to the phthalo to get a really nice dark started here. Takes a while to build up some of these real darks, but I think if you mix like French ultramarine with some of the phthalo color, you'll get some real nice deep colors. I'm going to just dip into the little bit of uh, quinacridone gold and add it to this mixtures as well. So we get a little bit of a green tint to some of this real blue up there. Now the clouds kind of sweep up this way. They're coming in at an angle like this. So I'm using these kind of diagonal brush strokes to move the eye along this diagonal shape here. It's interesting, these skies, when you really start looking at them and they're coming at you over from the west or the north, the colors that you see in them are just totally amazing. You just can't believe the colors in these. And then the thunderstorms around here yesterday, this whole building was just shaking from the thunder and the storms that were happening here. I want to get enough thick paint on here because then I'm going to add some. Also want to add some cerulean in here. It's a nice thick paint that kind of pushes the other colors. It's an opaque, so it pushes the other colors away. I wish I could find more of it here somewhere. I thought I had some out there. And I'll just add those right in here. So the thing to, yeah, here we go. I found it. So I've used pretty much all the blues on my palette for this painting so far. When we're coming down through here, I started with the cobalt blue, which you can still see the light gray blue of the sky there. Then I used French ultramarine, and then I added the phthalo green, the phthalo blue green, and added a little bit of quin gold to make the phthalo green a little more greenish tone to it. So we're getting what we want, and sometimes to make the sky a little bit more dramatic, I'll tilt the board like this and then spray. And I just have to let it run a little bit. And that'll give me some more of the dramatics in the sky that way. So I won't do too much of that or it'll run too far. I'm just using gravity now. They've got good gravity in New Mexico. Okay, this is pretty wet down here yet. Um, I also in the photograph have these clouds coming across, and I'm going to use the cerulean and a little bit of quinacridone red. I mainly use the Daniel Smith colors, but I use a little bit of Holbein and some of the others once in a while, but mostly. So in this sunset area, we have these floating clouds that are undercutting the big, deep cloud coming in. I'm using the cerulean because well, it pops a little bit more because it's more opaque and it doesn't move around quite as much as some of the other colors in this wet. I'm going to add a little more quin to that. You notice I'm not dipping into my water and washing my brush very often here because the paper is so wet. I don't need to add more water to my brush, otherwise I would get those blossoms. Yeah, it's starting to dry in places, so it's starting to, this is how fast this dries out around here. I'm using the number 10 brush now. What is this? It says not for sale, Holbein brush. Must have got it for free. It says not for sale. I don't know what that meant. I'm going to use my Lang nickel here. It's an 1.5 inch brush because I can put a lot of pigment in this brush. I'm going to add a little bit of my titanium white, which is a semi-opaque. I'm going to add that to this uh, cerulean here, lighten these clouds up in spots, create some variations. I've also been working with gouache quite a bit these days too. So sometimes I'll add gouache, and in essence, it's kind of what I'm doing with this um, titanium white. I use some French ultramarine and some uh, Quin red here to create that little darker shadow on the underside of that cloud there. So what's happening, there are two levels of clouds. You have the distant clouds that are laying flat here, and then we have this impending storm that's coming out right at us. So that's what I'm trying to work with here is to create that effect. Again, the cerulean blue with the titanium white, and then I'm going to drift it down into the a little bit, let it fall in a little bit. I don't want to drift it too much. At this point, I'm really fiddling a little bit, waiting for the foreground area to dry so I can start working with that. You never know what how a sky is going to turn out. What I say about watercolor sometimes is watercolor wants what it wants. Well, the same goes for a sky too. I get what it wants. So I try not to fight it, but try to make adjustments that suit both me and the painting. I'm going to see what happens when I spray a little bit of water into this. So we're going to experiment a little bit here with what happens here. Yeah, see what I want to do is kind of drift those colors together there. Actually, I'm pretty happy so far with what watercolor wants because it seems to be working here. So it's got a lot of interesting abstract shapes that represent clouds and rain coming down. So now here in the foreground, um, it's a little bit damp, but I think I can work with it without having to resort to the hair dryer. And we'll go from there.
Dale, is your paper stapled to the board?
Yeah, I just put this piece of mat board in between
Ah, okay. That's what's
so
reading.
it's easier to see.
Got it.
Because my board is a styrofoam board that's full of paint, and it would look like an abstract painting surrounding me. So I use this piece of mat board and staple right through the mat board into my painting board.
Okay.
So
Carol, I'm sorry I gave you the wrong information. I apologize.
I use what I use is let's see if I can find it here. I use the JT21 stapler, which you can get at Home Depot or any of the hardware stores. And it's a kind of in between a big heavy duty staple and a paper office stapler. So this works pretty good for most everything you want to do with stapling if you want to staple. Some artists, they just clamp. Other artists like to tape along the edge. It's just been my habit to do this, do it this way. So we've got all these color. I like these Elder pellets because they have like six different mixing wells. If you have two of them put together like this, then I have all these mixing wells that we can work with.
Yeah, they're really great. Michael Holter works with those exclusively also.
And they're so cheap to own,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
6, $8 or something.
I have
And the
10 of them.
same ones I used when I was a student at San Jose State,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
bought them at the student bookstore.
And just to clarify, Dale, you said that it was stapled to gator board?
Yeah, it's to a piece of gator board. See if I have another piece here.
So it wasn't styrofoam, it was the heavier gauge.
Yeah, it's got styrofoam in between, but
Okay,
it's paper backed gator board.
great.
You can get them anywhere. You can get them at all the art stores. I think you even can get them at Michael's. Yeah, we have great art store here in New Mexico in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Uh, Artisan, they have all the stuff for the professional artists there. They'll even stretch your canvas for you if you like and things like that. So here what I'm trying to create is a rainstorm coming down and hitting the Jemez Mountain right here. Shade some of these areas of the mountain a little bit. Yeah, this has been a dry year, so anytime we see a storm like this coming, we're going, come on, make it, come on, let's make it to us. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm adding a little quin burnt orange to this mixture of cobalt blue and uh, ultramarine there. Out from my front window, you can see a series of mesas out on the Santa Ana Pueblo Reservation. And that's what I'm trying to interpret right here. Yeah, New Mexico is not a fast-growing state because it's surrounded either by Indian pueblos and reservations or government land. So it's very, and water is another problem. So there's not a lot of development like you would see in some other places like Arizona or California, things like that, which I like. The traffic is, uh, compared to California, it's very light, which is a plus for me. I'm just dipping into this orange puddle and washing in a little bit of that into the cobalt blue to neutralize it a little bit. I take a small number four brush, mix it a little bit with my ultramarine. I'm going to skim along this edge here to divide between the mesa country and the mountain range in the background there a little bit. So a lot of this painting is from memory, from staring out at my living room window or out my studio window of this. I mean, so I see this mountain every day of my life, so it's kind of imprinted on me right now. My favorite way of painting is what I'm doing now, without much reference to photograph, not much detail work, just looking for the feeling of the subject a little bit more. Now I've added a little magenta, the quinacridone magenta in here. Get a little more of a muted violet. I'm wondering what I want to do here because I have this nice edge, crisp edge that I kind of want to keep in here. So this is wet and this is dry. So what I think I'm going to do at this stage is take about a 5 minute break here, and I'm going to mute this so my hairdryer doesn't blast all the way to California here and all over the universe. And think I can get away with that now. I have this other mesa shape that's in front of these other shapes back here. So I want to introduce that. There's a mesa that comes along and it has an indent and it comes back out like this and around. So it's a little bit it's going to be a little bit of a challenge here. So there's a line that goes like this and a line that goes like this. And so this is the vertical sides of the mesa. And what you see here is the top of the mesa. And then there's a foreground hillside coming down like this. And then another mesa shape like this. So there's all these series of mesas out there that are really interesting to paint. Believe it or not, the summers in New Mexico are kind of the greenest times that you'll find, especially in some of the Mesa country. You'll see the green sage and even the 39 miles to the north as you go into the Santa Fe area. Things are very more vibrant and green, and the forests are more lush than they are here, just 30 miles to the 39, 40 miles to the south. So what I'm doing now is adding some color to the top of this mason, just trying to get a dull greenish sage color going here along this top edge. So I'm using quin gold mixed with cobalt blue. This will add some contrast to all the blues and reds that I've been using. So what I'm painting now is the vertical edge to the mesa there. I'll add a little bit more of the cobalt blue in here. Maybe some Quin gold. That's a little stronger than that magenta. I'd like to encourage artists to maybe activate their visual memories more than, sticking just to photographs to paint from, because that's where you get more of yourself in your work, more of the feeling of what you're after, rather than just copying a photograph. And the photograph is about as good as photograph won't be much better than the painting, because if you don't have a good composition in your photograph that you've taken, you're not going to have a good composition in your painting, because you're copying the photograph. So you have to be able to interpret your subject if you're going to use a photograph. And I'm not against using photographs, I'm just not um, trying to rely on them, for every part of the painting, but just as an inspiration, as a kernel of truth to get started. I was reading recently about, like there's aphasia where you're unable to speak, but I didn't realize that there's an aphantasia where there's some people who don't visualize. So it's harder to be a painter if you can't, in your mind, visualize what you want to paint. So I know there's some people like that, but you can make it a practice of visualizing through sketching. You can make it a practice of just being out in the landscape and looking. And these are things without worrying about whether it's going to be a great photo or a great painting, but just spend time watching how the sun hits things, how the clouds affect the landscape, all these things, and they come back to you in your painting life. And that's what I've been doing, out now in my 70s, and I can rely much more on my mind's eye now than I can have to on a photograph or a representation of some other kind. But I would advise everybody and encourage everybody to sketch. That's where you learn more about your environment is, and for long term, remembering your landscape subject. And I try not to worry too much about the product that I'm going to end up with, but I'm more interested, you've heard the shop-worn phrase, the process, and that's what it is. Process is much more fun than having the product. And if you think product oriented too much, you're going to end up with a problem. A more tired painting, less feeling to it, those kinds of things. Anyway, that's my one artist's opinion. So I'm just mixing up different colors that I would find in the evening here. The violets, a little bit of earth tone here on some of these mesa shapes. So I've been using cobalt blue and a little bit of quin red, quin magenta, and then some Quin burnt orange in here, and maybe even a little touches of Quin sienna. So I've been just accenting these shapes with those. And I'm going to do a little dry brush here and just scumble along these edges a little bit. I'm shading this mesa a little bit with now that the underpainting is dry, I can shade this a little bit more. So I'm keeping to the same basic color scheme with these cool reds and blues in here since it's an evening scene. So I'm blocking in another mesa shape that's kind of dropping out of the foreground. Now I'm going to dip into my Quin burnt orange and gray this ultramarine down. And add a little bit of gold to that too here. And then add a little red to that. What I'm trying to do is just darken this foreground mesa till it's just not that important, just a dark shape in here. So the ultramarine does have good covering power, which I like about it. Trying to warm it up a little bit with the Quinburnt orange. I don't want it very bright. I want this area to stay brighter over here. I'm just grabbing some neutral off of my palette here, just some light gray here on this. Maybe add a little warmth to that. Sometimes my best colors come towards the end of my painting because they're all mixed together in nice ways. So I'm just working these shapes. Now this got a little bit spread out here, which I didn't want to happen, but maybe we can fix it with a Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, which is found easily at your local friendly neighborhood grocery store. It's best to buy the original because it doesn't have any detergent or anything in it or chemicals. So I'm just trying to make a nice edge here. I just realized my camera's backwards. One thing that I've recently started using is some gouache in my work. And I've got a separate gouache palette and a separate water container. And I try my best not to mix the two colors or the two palettes up too much because we tend to get messes. So I'm putting out some gouache, burnt sienna, and some titanium buff. And I'll use some separate brushes. Here we go. I like titanium buff for its creaminess. It's don't have to mix so many colors with it, so it's nice. But I'm going to mix a little yellow ochre with it. And all of these are now gouache colors. And I'll come in here and kind of work these edges a little bit. Break up the hard edge. I'll even use them a little bit in the sky here. I don't want to mess up too many opaques into the sky because it's working pretty well. I don't want to, but I want to touch some of these areas up along the top of that mountain. Bring some light back in. So I'm using titanium buff, a little yellow ochre, and then a little bit of quin violet too. So I'm mixing kind of a warm yellowish violet here for these areas. I don't know if these are even showing up very much in the painting or on this monitor, but I think that's helping this edge quite a bit. I think I'll put a little more titanium white out.
Dale, somebody asked why do you use separate brushes in your gouache? Is that so you don't
To pollute your transparent colors.
Okay.
Because if you're mixing back and forth, I have a separate water, separate palettes. Because otherwise, you're going to end up with milky colors all the way through your work.
Right.
You're not really going to want that.
And which gouache are you using?
I use mostly Daniel Smith.
Okay.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah.
Thing
And this,
about gouache is that it dries darker. So sometimes you have to reinstitute it or make sure that you uh, use enough of it. So I'm going to go back to my transparent watch. See, I've just done little hints of it. I haven't done a lot because I don't want it to take over the transparency so much. I'm trying to find the right value and the right color for some spots of vegetation on this mesa. Mainly it's cobalt blue here. You wouldn't use, sometimes we think of vegetation of bright green. Well, in the distance and in the evening, you're not going to want a bright green. So I'm just using cobalt blue here.
And there's a question, Dale, about why do you prefer quinacridone colors?
They're brilliant, they're transparent, um, they're permanent. Uh, Almost all the artists I know use them now, especially for watercolor. So they're just a great color, and then you can also have on your palette some of the traditional colors like ultramarine or French ultramarine, cobalt blue. Um, I use Quin sienna or Quin burnt orange as a substitute for burnt sienna, which is a little more opaque, more mineral color. So these are synthetic colors, so you're able to get a transparent wash with them, where some of the more mineral colors, it's a little more difficult. So that's the main reasoning on that.
And Daniel Smith seems to have a ton of quinacridone colors now.
Yeah, but most brands have them out now too. But I think Daniel Smith is king of the quinacridons. I think they're the ones who first came out with it. So that's where I started seeing them first anyway. Set this down somewhere. I want to darken this passage here a little bit. So what I'm doing now is just fine tuning those little things that will make this work better. I'm trying not to get too detailed in the painting since it's an evening scene. A lot of details are lost in the shadows and in the colors. So I don't want a lot of detail in this. I'm going to turn the hairdryer on for a second here. This dries pretty fast, but sometimes it needs a little goosing. So I'm trying to get this foreground dark mountain and a little darker, this shape here. If I can get this uh, foreground a little darker, then that pushes the eye up into some of these other details. So now I'm adding to the French ultramarine some cobalt blue. Maybe I'll dab in a little of the cerulean blue too. Oh, I didn't put my thing back, did I? Oh, yeah, it's good. So now I'm dipping into my Quinn Gold here and just mixing it into the gray that's already here for some of the vegetation on this slope.
Dale, would you say the sky is your focal point on this painting?
Yeah, that's the main thing here. So I'm trying not to get too detailed in this part of the painting. I'm mixing a little neutral tint with my Quinn Gold. So I'm looking for a dark greenish dull green here. I use Holbein neutral tint because I like the coolness of the tint. And I like the Holbein cerulean blue because it holds together. It doesn't separate in the tubes like some brands. This will help vary that edge quite a bit there with these bits of vegetation on the slope. So again to the Quinn Gold with some neutral tint, and we'll add some vegetation along this ridge line. A little bit of phthalo in there, brighten it up a little bit. The phthalo colors are great for mixing different greens. You mix it with your Quinn burnt orange, or you mix it with Quinn Gold. Phthalo blue is blue green is a really nice color.
Dale, just to give you a time check, you have about 25 minutes.
Okay, well, I'm getting there. So I did a half sheet today, so I'm a little quicker.
I think everybody's mesmerized.
See, a lot of I just planned the general idea, but I had no idea how the sky was really going to turn out, other than I kind of had a plan. But like I said, watercolor wants what it wants sometimes, so I just let it go. And then in this foreground, a lot of this is just ad hoc. It's just as I'm going along, I see what I need to get this to work. So
Now, I know you spend a lot of time sketching out different compositions. Did you do that with this?
yeah, I had several different ones. I don't know if I have them available here. There's this one here. I don't know if it shows up too well. Um, anyway, I had that one. I had this one.
Yeah, we can't see those now because they're up too high.
Yeah, I don't want to put them on the
Yeah,
painting.
that's all right.
I'll show them in a minute here.
Great.
So,
Okay, cool.
so Quinn Gold and neutral tint really work nice for these muted desert trees and vegetation. I know what I was going to do. I was going to lift a little of this real dark here. I want to get that paper to show through a little bit there. Yeah, that's better. It's got some variation in the topography there. I put that orange line in there just because I like it. I don't have any real big reason for it, but I put this orange line, I think, just to divide the landscape from the back landscape a little bit. So now I'm back to my gouache here. Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know what else to do. I think I got it.
Yeah, it looks great.
So,
Very nice.
yeah, that's how I interpret the sky.
Beautiful.
So let me see if I can move this and put the sketches out. Does that show up at all?
Yeah, that's great.
So here's some ideas I worked out for the clouds and so forth. Like this. So I just go through these scribbles until I get something that I think was going to work for me. So that's how I get to my subject matter.
Dale told us in his workshop that he sometimes spends a whole day just working out composition and
Yeah,
doing sketches.
yeah. Last night, while I was watching Big Bang Theory, I did all these sketches.
Well, that explains your sky.
Yeah. So these are just different ideas I might have for new paintings. Um, so these were based on the book cliffs in Utah, near Green River, Utah, where I've driven through this area. So I just start drawing. I just I don't know. Some of them I don't even know what they're going to be sometimes. So what I do is I take a pencil or a pen, usually a micron. I get a darker one. Well, I'll just take this one here. Yeah, here's so what I do, I don't even know, it's gonna come from my imagination, but I'll just sometimes draw a little shape like that. I don't know if you can see that, but let me use a pencil. It's dark, will be darker. So I might just draw a shape like this. I don't know what that is, and then I might attach a longer shape to it like this, and a shape like this. And I'm just drawing from kind of a stream of consciousness type thing. Maybe a long shape like this. Just so used to compositions that something always appears.
Mhm.
And then maybe I'll go, okay, that's a form. I can formalize that with a format. Maybe something separate out here, unattached to the design, but related to the design. So now I start, just working off of what those lines that I made, and maybe I'll put some kind of a desert mountain or something in here. Then I have a design.
Mhm.
That's how I do it.
That's awesome.
So it's kind of a modified contour drawing, sort of, I guess you would say. But these are all my keys to my paintings. And then I allow the painting to take its own course. If I get a good value sketch, maybe sometimes I'll sketch in. I use the pens to make these dark lines, but sometimes I'll just use graphite to get a good value in the drawing. So and
And
that helps me with the composition. Yes.
Dale also likes to use the graphics with
Hmm?
you. I was telling everybody you like to use the graphics with a brush as well.
Yeah, yeah. So the graphite pad, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you can take and you could create values with that too. So I just wet the rock and then just go in here and start painting my shapes. Use heavier paper so it doesn't wrinkle the paper, but you can use hot press or Bristol paper, or I just go to Staples and get brochure paper, printing paper. And so you can paint in your values with the graphite like that. So there's all kinds of little tricks into the drawing trade that work nicely, but I just work off my remembered imagery. Sometimes I'll work on something that is started with a photograph. Let me see if I can find it on the wall here.
What was the paper you get from the Staples?
Oh, I just get the heavier brochure paper, printing paper, laser paper, or whatever. And it's some kind of cardboardy, they use it for printing brochures. So this is a painting that I did, a 6-foot oil painting. And these are my reference materials for that. So from my experience of being there and photographing these two things, I printed a value study, and I printed a color study, and then I did a line drawing. And from that, I did a 6 by 4 foot oil painting of this landscape. So
Was that a commission
no, it's just going to go into a gallery.
to a gallery? Great.
Yeah, yeah. I wish it was a commission. Eventually it'll sell, but so these are my idea getting things.
Great.
Yeah.
So we have about 10, 12 minutes left. Do you mind, Dale, if we open it up to let
Sure.
people ask you questions? So if you
Yeah.
want to ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask Dale directly.
I don't bite.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Uh,
We can hear you. You want to ask a question?
oh, I find how you work is fantastic. It's been wonderful to watch you.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm glad. Do you
Yeah.
have any questions about it?
No, it's very different from how I work, and so I find it inspiring, really, to
How do
see
you
how you
work?
do it.
What style do you work in?
Oh, I do watercolor, but I've never done it the way you're doing it with the so much water and the 300 pound and all that, and so it's been a very inspiring for me. I mean, I love your work,
Oh, thank you.
and I had no idea who you were until tonight. So, thanks
Sometimes
for
I don't know who I am either.
joining California Watercolor uh, Association. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, love
Anyone
it.
else?
Do you have a particular time of day you like to do your plein air?
When it's cool and shady,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
middle of the day is not productive for painting because the shadows go away, the color goes away.
Oh, yeah.
So I think 7:30 in the morning till about 9:30 is good, or in the evening when the shadows get long and get bluer.
Hmm.
Color is when the color is warmer and the shadows get cooler and longer, you get more drama in your work. So
Yes.
you don't have to finish it outdoors. You just get it started.
Hmm.
If you like painting outdoors on the same thing all the time, you could set aside 3 mornings, go out 3 mornings at the same time to do it if that's feasible, where you are. But
Yeah.
just get enough done that you have a good start, take a photo, do some sketching, take it home and finish it. Yeah. That's what most plein air painters do. It's not a thing that you would need to finish on site.
On site, yeah.
Be
True.
efficient.
I see
Yeah.
Sharon Smith unmuted. Did you want to ask a question, Sharon? No? Okay.
Nope.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi Hi, Dale. I really liked your painting. I took a workshop with you and it was amazing. So I'm glad to see you again. Um, hi. I have a couple questions. One is, how do you like? I really love how you have your lights and darks, and it's really well. Do you
Mhm.
plan? I'm sure you plan that ahead of time. And how do you plan your colors? I saw your sketches, but do you also have your colors in mind? And then the
Well,
second thing is,
yeah, usually the colors kind of follow my observation. I don't necessarily sketch in the colors. I'm more interested in the shapes, but with this particular painting, I used that photograph for my color combinations, and usually I work from warm underpaintings to cooler colors on top. It seems to work better for watercolor that way. Not to say you can't go the opposite way sometimes, but I like to start usually with the yellow ochre, light yellow ochre washes, and depending on the color of your subject, it may change. But in this one, I needed the rose color sky, and then the overwhelming cloud cover coming in on top, which was cool and dark. So,
Mm.
thank
yeah.
you. You make it look easy. If I try to put those colors together, it would be mud. Um,
Yeah, you have to be careful.
well, thank you. And then the
Uh-huh.
second question is,
Thank
how do
you.
you do not get lost with all those mesas?
Yeah, that's a good question because I just simplified it to about three mesas and started with the light ones in the back and then warmer, brighter in the foreground. And then I muted the one here. But that's why I did several sketches so I could organize the different shapes. You
Yeah,
Thank,
I
know,
should do that more.
thank
I
you.
sit at my living room window every day, so it's kind of organized itself in my mind already. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yes.
Kirsten, did you want to ask a question?
No, did it look like I was raising my hand?
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
Dale,
I saw you unmuted.
I do have a comment. Many years ago, I did a week with you in Virginia City.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I have my dad and my grandma with me, so I have really lovely memories of that experience.
Still doing it. This will be my 30th year
Wow,
in
that's an
26.
interesting place.
Yeah.
Ah,
All right.
Yeah.
We got a couple minutes still. Anybody else?
Yeah, hi, it's Margot. I gotta say, I'm very impressed when you started off with the yellow yellow colors and the pink colors
yeah.
all over first, okay,
Uh-huh.
and then you put all the blues on top, and it really gave it depth and showed the sunset and stuff. I was very impressed about how that technique worked.
Yeah, that's the thing here is just above the horizon, above the mesa, you get when it's a storm light, you get kind of a salmon color. And then
Right.
the
Yeah.
clouds, usually the one layer of clouds kind of lays over the mountains. And then you
Mhm.
get big monsoon clouds coming in over the top of that. So there's like three different layers to that sky.
I know I saw so much of that sky before, and I went, "What's going on here?" But now, of course, as it progressed, I could see it, and I'm very,
Well,
yeah,
sometimes I think the same thing. What's going on here? So I just keep going till I get to it, So,
Right.
like I said,
Right.
watercolor wants what it wants sometimes.
Yeah.
right.
Somebody in the comment said, and I agree, it's just very dramatic. Your sky is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I was looking for is the dramatic skies. Yeah. I
Mhm.
can hear the thunder looking at my painting.
Yeah. Anybody else?
A question.
Yeah.
Dale, I was with you with this whole painting until you got to the right foreground on the right, and I'm not quite reading that. Can you explain what that?
Yes,
No, on the right.
yes.
Yes, that mesa in the foreground because
Yeah,
it's
it's
dark
a
and then it
darker
has blue and
shade.
then
Yeah, it's just a darker shape that I didn't want to be too important so that
right.
this would stand out. If I'd made this too light, then it would all kind of wash together at the same value.
Okay, I don't. Why is the blue? Why is the blue still in there? just to bring
Not
some
really,
blue down there?
as just a reflection of maybe something from the sky.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Going in here, so you have different. It's a little the the camera is showing it brighter blue than it really is,
Mm.
but it's more neutralized in my actual painting than what
Okay.
you see.
I remember Dale watches a lot of Big Bang Theory, so
Yeah.
Drama.
part of what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think those mazes are just spectacular. Thank you. It really is so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions if anybody has any.
Hi, it's Sharon. I was just wondering, I have a son in Albuquerque. Are you in galleries in that area?
Pardon?
I was just wondering if you were in, I have a son in Albuquerque. If you have galleries, are you shown in galleries there or Santa Fe?
Not so far. I've only been here a little over a year, so
Oh my goodness.
I do show sometimes up here in Placitas. They have group shows up here, which is fairly close to Albuquerque, but I don't have any out there yet. But I do have I participate in the group's studio tour in May on Mother's
Just
Day.
that was.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I'll let him know.
Yeah,
He's right next door.
Mother's Day weekend. Yeah.
Dale, you are you currently what do you have any upcoming workshops?
Right now I just have the Virginia City workshop coming up, and that's pretty much full already. So
Okay.
I don't have anything else planned yet. I've been so busy painting, I haven't thought about workshops too much lately. So.
Well, I told somebody in the chat that you had a website they could check out to see what you had coming up, but I realized you really don't have a formal website, do you?
Not anymore. I was
You have a
working
website?
I'm working on a new website, so that's why it's in between. So
Okay. Well, if I did when I googled you and workshops, and several things came up that were already old. But anyway, that's another way to look and see what Dale's doing, because most of the organizations will publicize.
yeah, they do most of the publicizing anyway. So
Yeah.
So anyway, just keep looking online. You always see something from me. So yeah.
Cool.
But if I ever get that website fixed, I'll be in good shape then.
All right,
So.
let us know and we'll put it in our newsletter.
Yeah, I don't do Facebook or any of those other social media things. So I'm a time traveler from the 50s.
That's probably a good thing. Well, Dale, thanks again for spending the evening with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I absolutely love your work, and I'm a big fan